Cool. So without further ado, guys, I just want to give a quick introduction as to who I am and why I'm even here to begin with. As some of you know or don't know yet, I actually cold called Tom. I don't know if he kind of told you the guys the story, but that's how I got through to him. So I've been doing this for about, give or take, 4 years. And of course, I'm here to show you, well, I've looked at kind of the script, what you guys are doing right now. I've listened to some call recordings and I've seen many different ways in which things can be done a lot better. And what I want to make clear here is that I'm not just here to walk to talk the talk, sorry. Like, I've actually done this before. Like, that's how I even got here in the first place. So I want to make sure that you guys are also in the right position and you have exactly what you need to make sure you kill it. So without further ado, in this meeting, we're going to be speaking about one main thing, which is the show rate. As I'm sure you guys are aware of, the main constraint lately has been the show rate, right? Like right now, we're getting average about 20-30% show rate. We want to get it up to 50% minimum. And honestly, I believe that we can get that to 60%, even 70%. And now that, I know that sounds a bit too ambitious, but I want you guys to think about something. With the same exact process that we're using right now, Tom was getting a 50% plus show rate on his own when he was doing this. Now you might say it's a founder effect, like it's because he owns a business, he has more conviction, and those are all are fair things. But you got to keep in mind, like the Calendly bombardment was still a thing. He was still using the same script, and he was not necessarily doing this full time. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but I'm sure you were busy building the business as well, right? So it's not like you were only cold calling.
No, I had to do, the cold calling every day, all the sales calls, building the product, sorting all that out, helping Ben out with everything.
Right. So the fact that he was able to do that 50% show rate, doing what he was doing and not even having these processes that we're about to implement, there's no reason you guys can't get to 67 or 60-70% show rate. And of course, we all know that this is not just for the company or for us, this is also for you guys. Because if you double your show rate from like 30% to 60%, you're doubling your commissions, right? Let's say right now you're making 1,000 in commissions. You guys can get that to 2,000 and make a 3K a month, like consistently, right? That's not even including the bonuses, because Tom did tell me that he did have some bonuses for you guys for added show rate. So you can easily add an extra 1,500 a month to your salary just for this, right? That's what the whole goal is today. So basically, the topic that we're going to be covering is the updated script. There's a few, well, not just a few, there's actually quite a few things that are changing up. Today, the main thing that we're going to focus on is primarily the changes that have been made to the script. Now, before I walk you guys through the new script that we have, the problem that I've seen from listening to some of your calls is, and I hope you guys don't take this the wrong way, like all I'm saying this is for anything I say right now is for the sake of feedback and to help you guys get better. So
and if I can interject as well, anything he says right now is aimed at me. I trained you guys. Like, you guys didn't come up with this process, so anything that's broken or wrong with it is fully on my back. So like, there's a lot that needs tidying up here, and it's all come off the back of me. So yeah, there's no personal attacks here. Basically, every time he says one of us is stupid, it's really me. So
long story short, we're gonna blame Tom for everything. So it's all his fault, right? Exactly. Now, I was listening to some calls, and the thing that stood out to me is like, you guys sound exactly like anybody else who might be cold calling these leads. It's like you get on the call, you say in one line pitch, you book the meeting, thank you, have a good day. It's like the exact same conversation that everybody else is having with them. And it's not even so much about the length of the conversation. It could be a 2-minute call or a 5-minute call or a 10-minute call. Actually, it doesn't really go past 5 minutes, but it's not so much about the length. It's about the lack of depth in the conversation. Like, there's no real reason for them to show up to the call. And that's, like, we spoke about like how we have a lot of reminders are faulty, how we have to tighten up our confirmation process. But really, if somebody is just trying to get off the call with you, it doesn't matter how good of a confirmation process you have if they weren't going to show up in the first place. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's what we're going to build out here. The new script covers exactly that. And so here's what the new script does. We're giving them the prospects a good enough reason to show up to the call. Because again, we're not selling them a 5K package. That's Tom's job. Our job is just to prove to them, hey, here's why putting 30 minutes of your time to speak with us is a good idea versus everybody else who actually reaches out to them. The second thing that we want to do is, even though you guys are booking like a good number of leads in, we like, it doesn't matter how much you book if they're not actually showing up. Like, I'd much rather you guys book 10 appointments and 6 of them show up than you book 20 and you get like 7 or 8 shows. Because by the way, the impact, like, does anybody here, can you guys like tell me, aside from missed opportunities, what other consequences are there to a very low show rate on a sales team? Can you guys give me some examples or some?
Yeah, I guess just overall like wasted time.
Okay, wasted time. What else?
Can you say what you said again, please?
Waste of time. Well, Marilyn said it's a waste of time. And the question originally was, do you guys know what the cons are of having a show rate aside from missed opportunities? Do you want anything else, or should I try to get into it?
Or is it having a low show rate, you mean?
Having a low show rate, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing, aside from missed opportunities and aside from wasting the closer's time, is lower team morale. Because, and look, I say this from being a closer myself. Think about this, guys. Like, you guys think about this for a minute. Imagine we have great talent in the team. We have great closers who know what they're doing and they can close. But then imagine that they're getting 20 calls booked in and 6 of them show up. How is that going to make them feel anytime they see a call on the calendar? They'll think to themselves, oh, this guy, like, only 20% of them are showing up. I'm not going to prepare this hard enough. This guy's probably not going to show. And like, it lowers the overall morale of the team and it lowers the closing rate by default. And so I want you guys to keep this in mind. Like, as we go through this process, you might book a bit less meetings, and that's fine. Like, I'd much rather you guys book people that are going to show up than you let people who weren't going to show up book in the first place. And that's part of the qualifications that we're going to be going through in just a minute. But so far, so good. Anybody have any questions?
Makes sense.
Yeah, all good.
So now I'm going to walk you guys through the exact script that we're going to use. I'm going to paste this in the Slack right after the call, but let me just share my screen with you in the meantime and show you what I've got going on over here. So what you might have realized, the beginning stays the same. Like right now, we're getting a good pickup to conversation ratio. Like you guys are saying this line and it's landing well with people. Like you guys are getting bookings just based off of that. Now, we don't want this to be the only thing that we do. We also want to speak about, like I said, we spoke about giving them a reason to show up and going deeper into discovery. Now, I know you guys might be thinking, why are we, like, if we're doing a cold call, why are people going to be giving us 5 minutes extra of their time to go through this entire process, right? And I will answer that question in a minute. I first have to give you context on exactly why we're doing what we're doing and what it is that we're doing before I can answer that question. Now, the first question I want to ask you guys, though, is does anybody here know, except for Tom, why we do a discovery in sales or appointment setting?
Just for qualification purposes, no?
Well, that's one reason. What are other reasons you guys might think of?
Make sure that, well, it's probably just going what Marlon's just said, but just making sure that we're not wasting the closer's time as well. And you're building rapport up as well. You've got more chance to build rapport before you get them on that initial call.
100%. So you have rapport, you have saving closer's time. What else would you be saying? I think those was the two ones, right? That was it.
Yeah.
So the main reason we want to have our qualification, So qualification, save closer's time, and then build rapport. Now, the other reason for this is when you ask these types of questions, like around let me ask you guys something. Would you go to a doctor if you didn't have any pain?
No.
Would you go buy food if you're not hungry? Maybe, unless you had a disorder, you probably wouldn't do that, right? Unless you had some weird parasite. But the same thing applies here. Like, people, they're not going to take an action, or they're not going to want to see the point of booking a meeting or speaking to somebody for half an hour on a call if they have no reason to. And in this case, there's two main reasons why somebody would want to do this. Number one is they have some form of problem that they're trying to solve that's causing other things in their life to not be as good as they want to be, as they want it to be. And the second thing is they have a goal that maybe they're not getting towards, right? So that's why in discovery, in this case, I'm going to give you guys a script breakdown. The moment that we say this pitch line and we ask them, is this something you'd be interested in learning a bit more about maybe sometime tomorrow? When they say, yeah, sure, that's cool. You want to say, cool, then Marlon, just so I understand how we can help so that we're not wasting your time on a meeting, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck slowing you down from getting as many appointments or as many listings or sales as you want? And this is kind of the question that you guys ask at the end of the call, but you kind of ask it for the sake of asking it, not to really dive into it. You want to think of this as wanting to consult them and actually trying to get a good answer from them, not just being surface level. And so once they tell you the problem, which in most cases people will be like, oh, my leads are not good enough. I'm not getting enough leads. The leads I'm getting are bad quality. You don't just want to take that as your surface answer. You always want to probe into it. And by probing, because by the way, probing questions, guys, are questions that you ask to get somebody to expand on something. It's like if I just go up to you, Mia, and I say, tell me more. There's no context behind it. If I ask you, give me an example, there's no context on that, right? But if I ask you, how's your day been? And you tell me it's been bad, and I ask you, tell me more, now I'm getting you to expand on something. And so we want to follow the same approach here, where we want to probe into something to get somebody to expand on what they just said. Now, you don't ask all these questions in order. Like, you're not going to ask somebody, tell me more, then you're going to ask, what do you mean by X? Give me an example. These are, think of them like arrows in a quiver. you ask whatever makes the most sense to ask based on what they told you. As a general rule of thumb, you don't want to probe more than once or twice into something. I would say like twice or even 3 times is like the limit. Because if you probe too much, you're risking breaking rapport in the call. Because again, like if you try to go too deep with somebody on a phone call that they've never spoken to you before, there's a chance that you might fumble the call. Either that, or if you do it very well, once they actually have a meeting with a closer, the call with a closer is going to land less. It's going to be less impactful because of the fact that you already got so much of the pain in the cold call. So we don't. Well, the way you want to think about it is we want to get just enough pain or just enough leverage to book the appointment. We don't want to get so much of it where we're taking away from the sales call. And the way that I like to think about it is, can I draw here? No, I can't really draw. It's fine. Think of it like unraveling a ball of thread. Imagine you have a ball of thread, and you want to find like the little piece of thread sticking out. So you as a closer or as a setter, sorry, you want to find that piece of thread, but you don't want to unravel it fully. You want to just find it and pull on it ever so slightly. Unraveling that and like letting all that thread come loose, that's a closer's job. But your guys' job is to get just enough leverage to be able to book the meeting. And in this case, I would be finding that thread or finding that little thing that you can hook into and just digging into that a little bit. It's like finding the wound and rubbing some salt on it, but like not ripping it out fully. It's like you want to have that kind of balance in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What questions do you guys have on that before I get into the actual script?
I would say the only question would be if someone's like in a rush or is like, oh, I want to talk about it on the meeting, would you say just book the appointment and just hope for the best?
That's a good question. And look, it really is situational because some people might be using like the call me back as a knee-jerk reaction. It's similar to how somebody might be like, send me an email or I'm not interested or call me back later. Like that aspect of like, I don't have enough time right now. It could genuinely be like a smoke screen that they're giving you. So you want to identify like, so here's what I do. And I can give you guys a process on this. If somebody's like, I'm busy right now, I can't do this, call me back later. I'll just interrupt them real quick and be like, yeah, no worries, Marlon. Look, I get it that you're busy. This call doesn't take more than 5 minutes. I just want to see if I can even help you so that I'm not wasting your time with a meeting. That being said, you don't ask them, hey, do you have 5 minutes? You say, you get straight into the next question, which is like, that being said, what's the biggest bottleneck that you feel like is slowing you down from getting as many listings as you want? You sidestep it. That's what sidestepping is.
Yeah.
I can give you guys like a whole sort of lesson later on, like objection handling and whatnot. But when somebody says something like, call me back later, or give me an email, or I'm not interested, it's oftentimes not a real objection. It's a smoke screen. And the way that you overcome smoke screens is by sidestepping it. And the way that you sidestep is you acknowledge what they said and you redirect the conversation. In the example of, Adrian, call me back, I would say, sure, that's not a problem. I get that you're busy. Before I call you back, I want to let you know this call doesn't go for more than 5 minutes. I want to make sure I'm not wasting your time with a further meeting. That being said, what's your biggest challenge? It's like I acknowledge what they said, and then I redirected the conversation by asking the next question that I had on my script.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And what you're saying as well, Adrian, in that sense where some people are kind of just giving you that smoke screen to the point where they were never going to turn up to that call anyway. If at that point you lose the booking, what you told me anyway was they were never going to show anyway, in your opinion.
Pretty much, like, guys, listen, here's the thing, right? If you have no option but to, like, let me explain. The first thing you're going to do is you want to sidestep it, the callback objection. Now, if they bring it up again, like, Marlon, I told you, man, I'm busy right now. I really can't speak. If you're at the beginning of the call, book a callback. Like, if let's say like we're at the end of the call, right, and we're in the pitch section, and they're like, man, I gotta go. Like, let's just wrap it up. Then sure, book the appointment because you already have enough leverage to get them to show up. Now, but if you're at the beginning, right, and like you're still in the beginning of discovery, and they're giving you the callback objection, it's most likely a smoke screen, first of all. But then if they give it to you again and they're like, hey, I really gotta go, book a callback. Now, you might be thinking, well, what if I lose the meeting because of that? What if I call them back and they don't answer? Well, like Tom just said, if they don't even pick up the callback, they weren't going to show up to the meeting to begin with. So what you guys want to think about is you're saving the closer's time. You're saving calendar space. You're saving the team morale, and you're keeping your show rate high enough to where now you can actually like hit the commission bonus that we spoke about, right? So again, just to summarize that, the first thing you want to do when you get a callback objection, sidestep that. Try to just like redirect the conversation back into discovery. The second thing you want to do, if it comes up again in the beginning of discovery, make sure you book a callback. If it comes at the end of the call, then just book the meeting anyway, right? Any more questions on that, Marlon? Yeah? Are you guys good?
No, that's good. Yeah, clarified
Just
it,
writing
yeah.
that down. Thank you.
Cool, no worries. I can give you guys like a whole. I know in this script that Tom made for you guys, you have like a whole objection handling section. I haven't created that yet for the new script just yet. I still want to find out how this is going to react with the market right now. Because one thing I do want to say is this is a work in progress. This isn't going to be the final thing that you stick to. There might be a chance that we find that a lot of people are dipping midway through discovery. So in that case, we remove a few questions. Maybe we shorten the process. Like I want you guys to see this as something that we're building and sculpting together, right? We're just going to go test it out and make sure that we have the best thing out there. But at least from my experience, this is definitely a lot better than what we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly how he called me. It was no, hey, Tom, can I tell you the reason for my call pitch? Do you want to book a call? It was, why? Because he called me because he thought I wanted more setters, which I do, but it wasn't the main constraint. He was like, what's the pain point with you hiring setters right now? And I was like, well, there's no immediate pain point. We're just doubling our closers, so we need double the setters. And I said, if you're talking about constraint, it's more so show up rate. And then he started talking to me about the process and everything. And, you know, that's the way that he approached his cold call. So immediately I knew that we were missing something in ours, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So again, when you ask somebody a question, do you guys know what Socratic dialogue is? Have you heard of that term?
No.
So that term is, well, basically Socrates had this form of questioning where he would ask people questions to make them come up with the answer themselves. So if I tell you, Tom, your biggest challenge in your business is that your show rate is low, like what comes out of, there's this great saying in sales that if what comes out of your mouth is shit, excuse my French, and what comes out of their mouth is gold. So if I'm telling you, Tom, your problem is show rate, in your mind, you won't be as convinced as you telling yourself, yeah, my biggest problem is show rate. So when we ask somebody a question, we're trying to get them to admit to us what the problem is. So not only do we know, because again, we spoke about qualification and that kind of stuff. It is true that we want to qualify people, but the reason why we ask these questions, we do discovery, more so than for ourselves, we do it so that they can tell themselves why they should meet with us. Do you guys have any questions on that?
No.
I like that.
Awesome. So to get into discovery, the first question that we want to ask, which is a fundamental question, is, cool, then, Mia, just so I understand how we can help you and so that we're not wasting your time in that meeting, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck slowing you down from getting as many listings or sales as you want? And by the way, notice the tonality that I'm saying it with. I'm not just saying, cool, then, Mia, just so I understand how we can help you so that we're not wasting your time in the meeting, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck slowing you down from getting as many listings as you want? It's like I'm just wrapping it out, right? Like that's a bad example of how you guys want to say it. And this leads me on to another point, which I wanted to ask you guys about. When you are doing these cold calls, are you guys reading the script?
I put mine down.
Yeah, not anymore. Sometimes I'll glance over.
Okay. And what about you, Mia? I didn't hear your answer.
Yeah, no, I'm all right without it. Sometimes I have to just, oh shit, but then yeah, I'm back to it.
Right. The reason I ask you this is because I've listened to some of your pitches and they sound a little bit robotic. And look, usually people sound robotic because they're reading the script. In you guys' case, if you're not reading, that's great. I applaud you guys for that because most beginner or rookie people, they just read and it never sounds well. But the other thing that we want to do is we want to make this sound human. And I get that sometimes on these cold calls, you get the nerves. And so therefore you start reading, or not even reading, but you start like saying things with a monotone tonality. But notice how I'm speaking right now. Like I'm not even thinking consciously of what tonality to use. I'm just meaning the words that I'm saying. Like if there's one piece of feedback that I can give you guys regarding tonality, is just genuinely mean the words that you're trying to say. It's like right now with my pauses, with the way that I'm like, also body language. Like first of all is mean the words. Second of all is use body language. Like if you guys are on these calls, something you can do that really helps a lot is you can stand up and you can move around to sort of emphasize the words that you're saying, right? And so again, first of all, mean what you actually say. Like when you're saying words, like process them, actually listen to what you're saying and focus on what you're saying, and then let that tonality naturally come across. Because I can ask you guys like, hey, if you're with friends, I bet you guys would have like an insane tonality because you're not overthinking, you're not in your mind about what to say or how to say it. You're just there. You're just speaking to a friend, right? And so when you're speaking to these prospects, you want to have that same sort of energy where your tonality just comes off naturally. You sound like a human naturally because you're present in the conversation. And you're not overthinking like what to say, or if you're not trying to read. And most importantly, you're focusing on the prospect and you're present with them, right? So just a quick three-pointer to summarize that. For you guys to like have the right tone. Number one, genuinely be present in the conversation and just be relaxed. That's the best piece of advice. If you're overthinking, if you're scared, if you're nervous, it's not going to come across as if you were relaxed and you were like with friends, for example. And we can speak about that later if it becomes a huge issue. The second thing is mean what you say, like actually comprehend the words that you're saying and have emphasis and oomph behind them, right? Like right now I'm talking, but I'm not focusing on like what tonality you should use. It just naturally comes across because I'm meaning the words that I say. And I think that's the best example. It's a bit up in the air, but hope you guys bear with me. And the third thing is use your body language a little bit. Like if you're speaking to somebody, genuinely make gestures that communicate certain tonality. Because even if you're just on a phone call, right? By nature of you moving around and doing certain things with your body, you're going to invoke the right kind of tonality. And the whole goal here isn't to make you sound like fucking Jordan Belfort. I just want to make you guys sound more human on these calls. I want to make you guys sound more relatable, more friendly, less robotic and less monotone. Because, I'm sure you guys have seen out there, so many people who these real estate agents get cold called from everybody, and everybody sounds the exact same. They're just reading, they sound monotone, it sounds like they're speaking to a robot. So now it's quite a spiel. What questions do you guys have around that tonality aspect of it before I get into it?
None. You're repeating what I say. That's what these guys have been trained on. That's the one thing I abide by, right? My 7 commandments of cold calling, you just missed out the get fucking caffeinated part.
Nothing's listening to music, guys. Like trust me, if you're listening to music in between cold calling, like jumping around and shit, it really helps. I don't know. Have you guys heard of this guy called Giuliano Massarelli?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. So if you guys just put up music and just like freaking start dancing in between calls, like genuinely you're gonna have such a different experience and you're gonna enjoy it so much more. Like that's the most important part, right? Just making sure that you enjoy it
as much as you can.
Absolutely. It is cold calling. Like, hey, it's not the most enjoyable thing out there, but you guys can make it enjoyable through doing this kind of stuff that we're speaking about. Cool. So that's the first question, the problem. Also, you have some comments here that you guys can go and can refer to later as you're reading through the script. Now, we want to probe into it. Gotcha. So tell me more. What do you mean by when you say leads? So when you say lead quality is the biggest challenge, give me an example of that. Or why do you say that lead quality is the biggest constraint or bottleneck right now? So do you guys have any questions so far on how to probe?
No.
Okay, cool. Next question is what's your GCI? I keep getting this mix up. I used to say CGI. What's your GCI goal for 2026? Now we already have this in the script. The only difference is that you guys are doing that towards the end of the call, and there's no real reason why you're asking this. Now there's going to be a very clear reason, which we're going to touch into now. But now, once we understand the problem and we have an idea of the current situation, we want to ask about the goal for 2026. And I've seen some of you guys' calls where people are like, yeah, I just want to make more money, or I just want to make like none of your business. I don't know. Like there will probably some BS.
Sky is the limit. I saw on one of yours, Mia, that you had written down. Is sky. Right.
Right. So somebody's like, yeah, I just want money, or I don't know, I just want to make more money. You don't want to take that as a surface level answer. You actually want a specific sort of number or some figure from them. So if they say something like that, some BS answer, in the comment here, you can see that I say, cool. So like, what does more money mean to you though? That means different things for different people. What does that mean to you? Well, if somebody's like, yeah, I don't know how much I want to make. Well, if you thought about it, what would be the ideal number that would feel like a success to you? Like, just don't take that their initial answer as a surface level answer is what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, if they gave you the number and they gave you like the vision on the goal, like no need to dive deep into it, which is another thing. And I hope I'm not overwhelming you guys right now, but if somebody already gives you an answer to a question, no need to re-ask it. Like if you ask what the biggest bottleneck is and they say that the biggest goal is this, you don't have to re-ask the same question. You can just move on, right? Just use your own sort of common sense and logic by being present and by actually thinking through what you're about to say. Make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. So then what's your GCI goal for 2026? $10 million. Love it, Mia. And based on what we discussed regarding your lead quality not being good and you having a lot of leads who only want to list or buy in the next 10 years, do you feel like you're on track to that goal at the moment? And this might go to one of two ways. It might say, yes, I'm on track, right? In which we just move on just fine. We'll come back to that later. Or they might say, no, I don't feel like I'm on track. And that's key, by the way. When they say like, no, I don't feel like I'm on track, you're getting them to admit to themselves that they're not going to hit the goal that they've set for themselves. So that's another reason for them to meet with you, right? Back to the example. Now, after we ask this, we want to ask them, so for some context, Marlon, are you getting your business primarily through word of mouth and referrals, or what kind of system do you have in place to help you get to that 10 million a year goal? So they might say, actually, I have something in place. I am doing Facebook ads at the moment, and I'm getting listings that way. Interesting. So how's Facebook ads working for you at the moment? Okay, so before I continue with the questions, the reason, does anybody here know why we ask does anybody know why we ask about what they've tried before instead of just continuing with the call? Nobody?
That's so it doesn't come up in an objection. Like, or like
Exactly.
maybe they get like they've tried some leads before, like something like this before,
Mhm.
and then we need to
Spot on.
overcome that a little bit before we get them on that closing call.
Spot on. So that's exactly what happens. If you just go on and you pitch somebody and you have no context of what they've tried before, there's a high likelihood that in their mind, what you're offering them is the exact same thing as what they tried before, which didn't work for them. And what I've seen happens over and over again is people don't show up to calls because like maybe they get pressured into booking a meeting and they just book it for the sake of booking it. But then after, like maybe an hour before the meeting, they'll think to themselves, I've actually tried this before. Like it didn't really work. I'm busy anyway. I'm just not going to show up. Right. So what we want to do is we want to make it clear in their minds that we are different from whatever it is that they may have tried that didn't work for them. And so for us to be able to do that, the first thing we have to do is understand, well, John, how's that working out for you at the moment? Well, Adrian, it's working pretty well. I'll say, like, we're getting a lot of leads, even though not a lot of them are qualified, we're still getting some sales here and there. So can't complain too much. Well, good for you. Well, good for you, John. And of course, we're having this discussion to explore other options. So I guess the question is, if that's working well for you, why not just double down on what's already working for you? Right. So, and by the way, this question right here, the kind of answers that you might get are like this. You might say, well, I mean, the thing is, if I try to increase my spend with Facebook, I hit a limit because I've tried that before. I've tried increasing my spend from 2,000 to 5,000 a month, but then I just hit a ceiling where I'm just getting diminishing returns and like I'm not getting the same results as before. So I can't really double down on that, right? And again, we're doing this so that they themselves don't have an excuse at the end of the call to just be like, I mean, I don't want to book the meeting. I'm doing fine with Facebook. I don't feel like I need to talk to you guys. So we want them to admit to themselves why they're not going to double down on what they're doing. Now, in some cases, it might genuinely be getting good results with it, and they might genuinely be doubling down, and they might say, I am doubling down on it. I am doing more of it. And so in that case, you might say, cool, got it. And do you feel like that's enough for you to get to that, 10 million a year goal? Or do you have the capacity to take even more? So with this question, what we want to do, because I've also seen it happen where if you ask somebody the question of why not double down on what you're doing at the moment, they might just respond with like this energy of like, you called me. I'm just trying to learn what's out there. So to avoid that response, if we ask like, okay, why not double down on what's already working for you? And they're like, well, I mean, I am. You called me. I'm like, yeah, I got it. No worries about it, John. I mean, the reason I ask is that do you feel like that alone is genuinely enough for you to hit 10 million a year? Or do you have the capacity to take on even more beyond that? So that way, even if what they're doing is already working, they're still not going to turn down working with us because they've already told themselves that they can actually take more. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. You're further in the goalpost, and you do this is great training for you guys because this is exactly how the beginning of every sales call goes. What you're talking about here is you need them to admit that they need to make a change. It's like, what are you doing currently right now? I'm doing this, and that. Okay, so do you feel like, your sphere of influence, the word of mouth, and the referrals that you're relying off of, do you feel like that's enough to get you to 300K in GCI this year, or that you would have to maybe make a small change? And then, if again, like, Adrian's saying, oh no, I think it could get you there. Great, awesome. Well, I guess if it can get you there, if you feel like you could add more to what you're currently doing, do you think that you could actually achieve more than this and go beyond that number? Well, yeah, of course. Okay, so like, do you have the capacity to add more of your own input, that own time of yours? No, and that's exactly where we come in. We can scale on top of what they're already doing.
Great point. And again, like Tom was going a bit deep there. Like that's what he does in a sales call. For us, again, we just want to do enough to be able to get the appointment. We don't want to go super deep, especially because it's a cold call. And I also, I see you guys' perspective. Like this in paper looks like a long discovery, but in actuality, in a conversation, all this is just like 3-4 questions, and then you get into the pitch and the rest of the stuff. So it's not as long as it looks like. It's just that when you're probing and you have like different branches, it looks a little bit longer on paper than it actually is. But basically, to summarize, if somebody's doing something and it's working well for them, we want to understand, like, okay, if it's working out for you, why not double down? A great example of this is like, if you are married, you would not be out there trying to date other people, right? Without good reason, at least. So the same mentality applies here, where if they wouldn't be talking to you if they were not fully satisfied with what they were doing. Like there's a reason why they're on the phone with you, right? And of course you called them, but there's a reason why they were continuing to engage with you. Otherwise, I would have hung up before.
That's
That
great.
makes you realise when you say it from that mentality, doesn't it?
Tom, were you saying something?
I said that was a great analogy.
But I love that analogy. It's like, oh, you wouldn't fucking look for a partner if you were satisfied. I would not bring up that analogy in a call, by the way, guys. Like that.
Yeah, I was gonna
I would not
say.
bring that up in a call. But basically, yeah, like
That
they're
would not be happy
they're-
listening
pretty
to
much
that.
like the reason why they're even on the call with you is because there's something that they're not happy with. So you gotta keep in mind and keep that frame in mind as you ask these questions. So again, when you ask them, like, okay, cool, like you're doing something that's working, that's fine. Now, of course, we're talking about this so that we can find other options. Why not just double down on what's already working for you? Well, I can't because of X, Y, and Z. Interesting. Tell me more. What do you mean by diminishing returns? Okay, when you say that, when you let's say they're oh, just do referrals and word of mouth. Okay, well, I mean, how's that working at the moment? It's doing great. Yeah, I mean, most of my business is referrals and word of mouth. Gotcha. Well, look, John, I mean, of course, we're having this discussion to explore other options, but do you realistically feel like word of mouth and referrals alone are enough to get you to that 10 million a year goal? And they might be like, not really. Why is that? Even though we already know why that is. Like in my mind, I know that the reason they're not getting enough, they're not going to get to 10 million with word of mouth. I know it's because it's inconsistent for them. But again, it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what they think. So if there's somebody's like, yeah, I mean, I don't think word of mouth is going to be enough. Not really. Okay, why? Cool. Why is that? Well, it's just inconsistent, man. I mean, I can only get so much word of mouth, can I? Fair enough, man. And then you move on, right? So yeah, let's say somebody says, I am doubling down. Got it. And do you feel like that's enough for you to get to 10 million, or do you even have the capacity to take on even more if we could get you more? Well, no, of course I can do a lot more. Awesome. Let's keep the conversation going then. Right? For example, again, this is basically like if somebody says it's not working well, like, hey, if that's something in place, and they say like, you know, how's that working out for you at the moment? It's working out well. Why not double down on it? And they give like, because of XYZ reason, then you want to probe onto that. And back to probing, you can just use these kind of questions. And if you want, I can give you guys like a whole list of probing questions that you can use. And again, you want to think of probing questions as arrows in a quiver. You don't just strip them out in advance. You just ask them based on what makes the most sense. Cool?
Cool.
Nice. Now, let's say that they say like, hey, I'm trying Facebook right now. And you ask, how's that working out for you at the moment? And they say, it's not working well. Well, why do you say that? Not working well? What about that isn't working? What would you change about it if you could? We're trying to understand what about it didn't work. And like Mia said before, Mia, you said that we want to understand what they tried before so we can separate ourselves from what they've tried. So for us to know what's not working about that, we want to ask questions to clarify that. So why isn't that working for you? How long have you been doing that? Well, when you say leads are bad, define bad leads for me. Okay, well, you've been doing that for 2 years and it's been bad. Well, why haven't you switched from that? Like basically we want to like, you want to probe again, like once, maybe twice at the most, but then you'll know when you have the right answer, when in your mind, you have an idea of why, of what they're doing and how that's not working and what that means to them. So again, I'm doing Facebook. That's not working out for me because I'm getting bad leads. Bad leads means people want to list with me in the next 5 years instead of the next 90 days. Okay, fair enough. And then we can use it on our page to our advantage, and we'll see how in a minute. Now, back to the thing here. If they're like, if you ask them, sure, so aside from word of mouth and referrals, what kind of system do you have in place to help you get to the goal? Then if they say like, I don't really have anything, just word of mouth. All right, and have you tried anything else in the past, perhaps? Another thing about it, actually, I would do what I just told you guys, which is like, I would still ask them like how word of mouth is working at the moment, and then ask them like if they think it's going to be enough to get them to the goal. And I know it might be a bit confusing because like there's different branches to this. It's like you can't script out a conversation. I can only give you guys the frameworks and have you do it, which is why like we're going to do a lot more trainings around this, and we're going to do role plays together. And I'll put it into a script as well. But if somebody is doing word of mouth, ask them how that's working. Ask if they feel like it's enough to get them to their goal. And if not, then why not? Right? Now, back to the point, if word of mouth is the only thing that they're doing, we also want to understand if they tried anything else in the past. Because just because they're doing referrals right now, doesn't mean that they didn't try Facebook ads before. And so we want to make sure we know that, so that when we're giving our pitch, we don't accidentally mix ourselves with what they tried before that didn't work. So cool. So I heard somebody was going to say something.
No, don't think so.
Cool. If they're like, yeah, no, I just do word of mouth. Cool. So do you feel like that's going to get you to your GCI goal? Not really. Why not? Because it's not consistent. Not consistent. Tell me about it. Well, maybe 1 month I get 10 listings, 1 month I get nothing. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. And now What about in the past? Have you tried anything else in the past aside from word of mouth? Yeah, I've actually tried listing myself or paying for like the MLS, but it didn't really work out. Well, how did that work for you? And then again, we kind of go down the same probing route of why didn't that work for them? And they're like, no, I didn't really try anything else in the past. Got it. And look, I mean, John, I'm sure you get calls like this all the time. And so I'm definitely curious to know what's been the main reason that you're not trying anything else to solve the lead quality issue. And this tells you like what if there's any reason that they haven't tried it. Because I mean, you got to keep in mind that these guys get calls all the time, right? So if they haven't tried anything else in the past, it's definitely a bit curious. It's like, you've gotten so many calls like this before. Why haven't you done anything before? If this is your problem. And this will oftentimes reveal to you like a big objection that might come up. They might say something like, oh, well, I just don't want to waste my time on useless meetings. I just want to get straight to the point. Or I don't want to speak to people who legitimate leads because they're all scammers. Now we can kind of deal with that here instead of waiting for it to come up as an objection and then we're cooked and you can't do anything about it. Now, well, actually, let me just get to the final point and then we'll get into questions. The final sort of discovery point that we're asking them about is the leadership, if they have a partner or not. And Tom, we're still yet to fully get this down because I know some people that we speak with are brokerage owners, and most likely these business owners, they're going to have a partner, but sometimes these brokers will not really have a partner. So this question will be more so situational, and Tom, hopefully you can give us some clarity on that.
I guess you would just always ask, like, finally, then just before it's just the same question. Is there anyone else that needs to be on this call with you, like any sort of spouse or business partner or anything of that nature, or is it just you? It's more often than not going to be a no. In my opinion, I feel like more often than not these guys won't have a partner. It's a rarer case that they do, but it happens.
Yeah. So let's just frame it as that, which is like, hey, is there anyone else that needs to be in this call, or is it just? Wait, hold up, let me rephrase that. I'm asking John, is there anybody else that needs to be in this call? Is it just you, or do you have a partner? That way we can cater to both business owners and B2C and like regular realtors.
Yeah. So
there's basically 4 points to this entire discovery. Number 1 is finding out the problem / the current situation. Number 2 is getting out their goal, their desire, what they're trying to achieve. Number 3 is getting what they tried before. And of course, if that didn't work out for them, if it did work out for them, why that didn't work out for them, making sure that we get the context on that so we can differentiate ourselves. And number 4, spouse / partner. So making sure that we have all the partners in the meeting. Now, before we get into the remaining of the script, what questions do you guys have on that exactly?
I like it. So where we do the pitch as normal at the start, everything's the same at that introduction, and then we even go in and ask the question as we would normally. Is that something that you'd be interested in booking a call sometime tomorrow? And then you go into the discovery. Just so you're not wasting time. Okay.
Yeah, because this is already working for you guys. I don't want to change what's working. Now, they might say like, yeah, I'm available after tomorrow. And instead of you being like, okay, cool, let me just book it in, you'll just get straight into discovery. You'll say that just so I understand how we can help. And so we're not wasting your time on that meeting. And then you get into it. So you're kind of framing why you're going to ask the questions you're about to ask. And bear in mind that this might change later on. Like we might genuinely have a different way of transitioning into discovery. But for now, let's just try this out, see how it works. And then we can shift away from it if it doesn't work.
Nice. And when is that to start from?
That's a great question. So this script, I don't want you guys to start with it until you've fully learned it. Because there's like, even though we had this, think about it this way, there's a lot of upside to asking these questions, but then there's equal amount of downside in a way. If you're not knowing how to properly ask the questions, or if you just ask them and you just take the surface level answers as your main answers, or maybe just you're losing flow of the conversation, there's a high chance that you could break rapport with them. You can maybe piss some people off. So ideally, I wouldn't want you guys to start with it until you fully memorize all the script to the point where you can at least do a role play with me without fumbling, so to speak. So what I want to do is over like tomorrow and after tomorrow, that's when I want you guys to actually start implementing it. Today, when you get to your dials, just use the regular script you've always been using. And in your free time, or once you finish your dials, make sure you learn the script. And I'm going to show you guys how exactly to go about learning it so that you can learn it as quickly as possible and you're not spending too much time in a memorization process.
Nice, thank you.
Awesome. Marlon, do you have any questions?
It's not really related to this script I'm following. I really like it. The question I had, the biggest sort of objection handle that I've been having problems with is the sort of referral one-time fee payment question, and people trying to often like when I get into that, people hang up straight away when I say it's on the script now. When I go, I don't dive into that now for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, so it's
I'm getting hung up on loads
this one, right?
after. Yeah.
I think
In this case, in my head, because you're diving into Adrian's script when you've got the permission to book the meeting. Essentially, this is increasing the show rate. In terms of that objection, that's an appointment booking problem, where more so that's just the objection that we get. Now, at that point, that's going to be before, because if you've got that objection, you've not yet got permission to book the meeting, which nulls and voids Adrian's script to that point. So at that point, you still want to the objection, in my opinion, where, hey, look, I completely understand why you would ask that, and I want to be completely honest with you. The way that our guarantee works is that we do take a fee for 6 months. Now we can break it up and work that out for you, and that's really to benefit you in that sense. If we're not able to take commissions, and we don't want to take huge chunks of your commissions, and legally we can't because we're not a registered brokerage. So that way we'll actually guarantee you that you close a minimum of a certain amount of deals in 6 months or your money back. And then because if they hang up, you're done. There's nothing you can do about that. But if they go, no, I'm not interested, again, it's the same training we've always done. It's like, yeah, look, I can get why you want to say that, but like, why is it the case that you're not interested? And then again, as I always tell you guys, it roots down to that 7th objection, which is I've done stuff like this and I've been burnt before, right? Which then you could even do a nice smooth transition once you can kind of solve that. Because that also pre-answers one of Adrian's aspects of like, have you ever done anything to try and actually achieve this in the past, right? Because then you're solving the no leads issue or the bad leads issue. And then once you solve it, if you solve it and they're like, okay, yeah, fine, we'll book a call, that's when you go, great. Now look, and then you would transition into Adrian's script.
Okay, yeah.
I also have a thought on that. But before, I want to ask you something so I have full context. Because in the beginning of the script, we tell them that the way that we work is it's a completely pay on results basis. But then down here, we're telling them there's a setup fee. So I guess, Tom, this is more of a question for you, but like, how do you we come to that thought process of telling them it's pay on result and then we tell them there's a setup fee?
Because if we don't close a minimum of 2 transactions in 6 months, they get a refund, ergo they don't pay.
Gotcha. It's kind of like you're playing with the words pretty much. But
yeah, because that's why I tell these guys that word unless can never become until, because that then says we get paid at the closing table the same as you, but where it's we don't get paid unless those deals. If they don't close deals, we get refunded, and then we actually go ahead. So. Cool.
Well, that is smart. I'll give you that one. But to answer your question, Marlon, on the actual objection handle here, here's the thing that I want to tell you guys about objection handling, and maybe Tom, let me know if you agree with me or not. A lot of these are like they're very good reframes for real objections. But what you're not getting right is that sometimes people ask you for the price, not because they actually have an objection around it or because they're going to hang up on you if you don't give them price. They ask price because it's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's just the natural sort of wiring. It's like, oh, this guy's cold calling me. Let me ask how much it costs and what he does. So that's why we talked about sidestepping. Like, I'll share with you guys something as research as well that I created about objection handling. But 18% of your objections in a throwing setting, they're not going to be real objections. They're smoke screens. And a smoke screen, but just to put a definition to it, is, well, let me put it this way. Real objections are things that prevent or threaten the appointment directly. A smoke screen is something that people just give you as like natural sales resistance, right? So a smoke screen would be more like, send me an email, give me the price, whatever. Now, give me the price could become an objection if it comes up more than once. But the first time that it comes up, funny enough, because I used to deal with contractors. Like I used to get on calls with like these A-type contractors, like these redneck kind of guys. And so whenever they ask me about price, do you guys don't know how I would handle the objection?
Tell us.
Sarah.
That's a great question. I'll get back to that later. Like, I don't even address it, bro. Like, I just sidestep it completely. And they forget about it, which is a funny part. Like, they end up not asking me about price. Or maybe they ask me about price, but we're already at the end of the call. And then I'll tell them, like, yeah, sure, no worries.
That actually is, when you first said that, I was a bit like, but no, I can see how that works if you get straight into the, so would you be interested in learning a bit more about this tomorrow? How much does it cost? Or, do you have an upfront fee? You handle it. They're like, how much does it cost? Yeah, great. I'll go ahead. I'll get into that right now. But just to make sure that it's even worth me telling you, what's the biggest bottleneck right now that's stopping you?
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't just say like, Yeah, so before I get into the price, I just want to tell you, I want to ask you these questions to make sure I can help you. Is that okay with you? You don't ask them for permission. You just redirect the conversation where you want it to be, and you get into your next question. So, for example, Marlon, you asked me how much it costs.
Adrian, how much does it cost?
Great question, Marlon. I'll get back into that in just a second. Just want to make sure this is even a fit for you. That being said, what's the main constraint holding you back right now from getting to your GCI goal?
Yeah.
Like I just completely redirect the conversation.
It almost like devalues the question in a sense.
Exactly, because these guys, they ask these things not because of real objections. They're just asking them because that's just the way they were wired. It's like a knee jerk. The reason why knee jerk objections are called knee jerk is because like visualize it this way. Imagine you have like a hammer and you're smacking a kneecap. Like the leg just does this on its own, right? And so when they're speaking to the salespeople, they have that same sort of reaction. And oftentimes it's like they genuinely don't give a crap about your price. They just want to find a reason to get off the call. So if you just redirect that entirely, it just stops existing and it stops being a problem. Now, there is a case where them asking about the price can turn into a real objection. And that's when we can get into this kind of stuff. Now, I slightly disagree with this handling framework, but that's also not fully actually. Like I like the framework itself. I just think there's a lot shorter ways of getting into it without them hanging up. But that's going to be a different discussion for a whole different day. I genuinely believe that if you guys just learn how to sidestep, 80% of your objections are gone. Like, and then you can just default to this worst case if they keep bringing up the same objection over and over again. But just ideally default to sidestepping and then use this only if they bring up the same thing like twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Awesome.
Definitely.
So back to the main topic, we've done discovery, right? We found out their current situation, their goal, what they tried before, and then we have the partners and spouses. The next part is a mini pitch. Now, in here, you guys are kind of giving them a pitch, right? But since we've already done discovery, we kind of want to freshen up what it is that we do, but more importantly, tell them what they're going to get out of the call that they're going to have with the closer. So it's like we're setting them up for the like imagine in volleyball, like you're physically like the setter and the closer is the striker. You guys want to set up that goal with the closer so that it's like a laydown, you know? And so the way that we want to do that is use what they told us in discovery. Well, in this case, we don't want to customize it too much, but we want to tell them, remind them of the most important aspects of what we do. We want to tell them what they're going to get out of the call with the closer and then set the right expectations. Those are the 3 things that we want to achieve here. Because another thing that Tom has told me that was being an issue for you guys is that leads who show up to the call not even knowing what the call was going to be about, you know? And, you know, we did have like a Calendly automation with like a bunch of bullet points of what they were going to get out of the call. But come on, like people are not reading that. These guys are busy, right? And the best way to tell them and set these expectations is in the phone call itself. So then here's what the pitch looks like. Well, John, based on what you just told me about needing to solve that lead quality issue because most of the leads that you get only want to listen 10 years, I wholeheartedly believe that we can help. And by the way, pay attention to my tonality. If you want later on, by the way, I'll record you guys like a voice note of how I say this so that you can kind of reference and use that for inspiration. Now, just to remind you, John, we only work on a results basis, meaning we don't get paid unless you actually close deals. And on average, our clients pick up an extra 1 to 3 transactions a month. Now, we only work with an agent per MLS to keep these deals exclusive to you. And what we'll do tomorrow is we'll sit down, no obligation, and walk you through how we can get you in front of ready-to-list homeowners or buyers who need to move, not just want to. Of course, without you having to buy leads or chase people down. So you leave that call with a clear picture of how this works, so you'll be able to do this for yourself if that's what you decide to do. Or you can get a free to-use process from us to get your first listing in 24 hours. That said, this will be a Zoom meeting, so ideally you'd want to be behind a computer. What's a good time when you're not in the field? Maybe tomorrow or after tomorrow? So I know this is a bit of a mouthful. We could shorten it later if it becomes an issue, but for now, we'll just keep it this way. One thing I want to emphasize with you guys is utilize pauses. Like, don't be afraid of pausing every now and then, or like, just don't make it too long of a pause where they're going to hang up on you. But at the same time, if you speak too fast, they're more likely to hang up on you when you're speaking too fast because then you don't sound like as much of an authority as you would otherwise. And also pay attention to these 3 dots. Like these 3 dots are supposed to signify a pause. I should probably put them elsewhere here in the script now that I think about it. But then like make sure when you say like a long sentence or something like that, you leave a good pause before you get into the next point. So again, what we're accomplishing here is that we're reminding them of the main unique selling propositions about our service. We are giving them the expectation of what the call is going to be like, and then we're telling them what they're going to get out of it. Then we get into the actual booking of the appointment. So what questions do you guys have on the mini pitch specifically?
It's quite clear. I think, yeah, aside from tonality, it's all followable.
Cool. Mia, any questions on your end?
I felt like if I was an American, I was a broker, and sign up now.
Wait, what's that? I couldn't hear that too well.
I said if I was a broker in America, then just sign me up now.
Is it just me or is it?
It's pretty, I'm saying it's good. I like it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
You're saying,
No,
if,
I don't.
you're saying if she was the prospect, sign her up now. Get her going.
Oh, dude, my bad. Like sometimes I just don't get the. Yeah, it's just, my American English is not sophisticated enough for your guys' like own dialect.
Yeah, show me that pitch one more time. Just because, do you think it's 100% necessary to almost repeat the same pitch they've already delivered, the 1 to 3 extra transactions a month, pay on
This is like, I want to re-emphasize it because they probably would have forgotten it by this point. I want to make sure that it's on top of their mind, because here's the thing, right? This pitch is something you guys are going to repeat like verbatim moving forward. But there's a different version that we can do, but this is a bit more advanced. Like, I don't want you guys to do this until we master this first. The more advanced version, what I usually favor is just completely making up the pitch on the go based on what the prospect gave you in discovery. Like, let me give you an example of what I was doing back when I was cold calling contractors. If a contractor had told me, hey, I tried Angie's List and the leads I were getting were horrible. They wanted to do the job in 2 years from now. They only had a budget of $5,000. And when I went to the home, only the husband would be there without the wife. So I never got a decision. So when I would pitch these guys, what I would say is, hey, John, look, so you know how before you told me that you had these, you work with Angie's List, you were getting a lot of leads who wanted to buy in like 2 years from now, didn't have the money, or just showed up without the other partner on the call, right? What we do differently is we specifically get you on appointments with leads who want to do it within 90 days, who have a budget of 20K plus, and who have both decision makers present, or you don't pay us. And the best part is you only pay us per appointment, meaning that you're not risking yourself like you did with the other company where you pay them per month and you still didn't get results. It's like now I'm customizing the entire pitch to them. Now that's a bit more advanced. I want you guys to get to like into that. But that's ideally what like long term we want this pitch to be looking like.
Yeah.
And
more knowledge on exactly what we do. Marlon, you're pretty privy with like what we do and everything as well. Obviously, you've been calling a bit longer than Mia, but Mia as well. You know, I've both given you those same assets to our sales process. Everything I've given the closers, a bit more about the product. So the more you can absorb that, and I'm always around to answer any questions. And as Adrian, because he will be directly meeting with you guys regularly to actually like train you and role play and quality control over everything over the next 90 days or so. I'm still going to be touching base there for any questions and specific product or market knowledge, just so you can answer those questions. Because it's a very similar thing when, you're talking about, as Marlon, we can touch on that short sales cycle by targeting your need to movers over your want to movers. There's expired listings, probates, pre-foreclosures, divorces, people that need to move regardless to the market. So it doesn't matter what the interest rates are because these guys need to get going. And the best thing is if you don't actually list any of these homes, then you're not going to pay us anyway, right? Instead of having to share leads with Zillow, we're 100% exclusive by your MLS. So you can start to figure out how to pitch off of that specifically.
So that's a great example of how you would customize a pitch. Now, in this case, we're not going that deep. If you feel comfortable with doing that on the call, so be it. But for now, just to have something to stick with, this is like the verbatim sort of pitch that you guys are going to repeat. And let me just do it again one more time because Tom, you wanted to hear it. And to answer your question of like, I do think that we don't get paid unless you actually close deals. On average, our clients get this. It's like, it's such a small sentence, but at the same time has so much value to remind them of it. The only thing I would agree with potentially removing would be some of this stuff right here, which is a bit more about what they're going to get out of the call. I feel like maybe if we even get rid of the free process to get a listing from 24 hours, because at the stage of a cold call, that does sound like a too good to be true kind of thing, So if this becomes way too long, we could remove maybe list line or remove like part of this right here. But for now, let's just try this. Do you agree with that, or what do you think on specific pitch on?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, see how it rolls at the moment, and then we'll go from there.
So let me go about it one more time. Well, Tom, based on what you just told me about needing more qualified leads that actually want to list and not just thinking about it, I wholeheartedly believe that we can help. Now, just to remind you, we only work on a results basis, meaning that you don't pay us unless you actually close deals. And on average, our clients pick up an extra 1 to 3 transactions a month. Now, we only work with one agent per MLS to keep these exclusive to you. So what we'll do in the meeting tomorrow is we'll sit down, no obligation. I'll walk you through exactly how we get you ready in front of these ready-to-list homeowners or buyers who need to move, not just want to, without you having to buy leads or chase people down. You leave that call with a clear picture of how this works, to where you'll be able to do this yourself if that's what you decide to do, or you'll get a ready-to-use free process from us to get your first listing in 24 hours. That said, this will be a Zoom meeting, so ideally you don't want to be behind a computer. What's a good time when you're not on the field? Maybe tomorrow or the day after? Now that I think about it, it is a bit too long. I do want to remove at least maybe this line or something else. So don't worry, I'll get you guys the updated script, but everything else in terms of structure is going to stay roughly the same.
Cool.
So then when we want to book the meeting, one thing that is key here is we don't want to ask them, would you like to book a meeting? No, we assume the meeting. We just say, what's a good time when you're not on the field? Maybe tomorrow or the day after? And this is called the option close. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but you always want to give them two options. Like you don't want to ask them, well, when works for you, and then you shut up. You want to say, what's a good time for you? Maybe tomorrow or after tomorrow. Because if you give somebody two options, they're much more likely to pick one of them instead of like thinking to themselves, like, oh, do I even want to do a meeting?
Yeah. So
the way that I do this is like, maybe tomorrow or the day after. Day after. Okay, you want to do morning or afternoon? Afternoon. Okay, I have a 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. 6 p.m. It's like you always give two options. Any questions on that?
No, makes sense.
Nope.
Cool. So then back to the pitch itself. You want to get their partner on if they have one. So if they did say like, oh, I have a partner, then you want to say like, what's a good time for you and your partner when you're not on the field? But everything stays the same. So then once you get a time from them, you want to say, sounds good. So what's the best email to send the link to? Now, I know you might be wondering, why are we asking for the email before we fully get the time? So I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this already, but we're switching away from booking people on Calendly. We're going to start booking them on Go High Level directly, and we're going to change a lot of systems and automations. So when you guys are booking people through Go High Level, you're going to have to fill in the email before you're able to select the time. So the best way of going about it is you ask what's a good time when they're not on the field, maybe tomorrow or after. They tell you that, and then you ask them what the best email is. And then as you're writing down the email, of course, like you repeat it back to them after you have it, and then you ask, okay, cool, so you want to do tomorrow? Do you prefer morning or afternoon? Well, we have 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Great. That's kind of the booking flow, logistically speaking. Any questions on that?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So then the next thing, and this is something that is crucial, guys. We want to make sure that these people have everything they need to show up to the meeting, and that we guide them through step by step. So what we're going to do here is called a double tie down. Got it, John. And look, I know that life can get busy as a realtor. Like one moment you're in the office, the next thing you know, you're putting out fires. Now, as a heads up, our schedule fills up really quickly. I mean, like I told you about, we only take one agent per MLS. I just ad-libbed that. So yeah, rescheduling can be a bit difficult. Based on what you know right now, do you think there's any reason at all why tomorrow at 5 p.m. wouldn't work for you? Now, I've seen what you guys get. Sometimes they might be like, oh, I could be putting a fire out at that time. Oh, totally, John. I get those things that can come up out of the blue, but just from what you're on right now, do you think there's any reason that all this wouldn't work? Right? And they might say like, no, just from what I know, no, not really. And that's what we kind of want from them, right? So, cool. Next thing we do is after we double tie down and they've agreed to show up to the meeting at that time, I want to say, okay, cool, John, I've scheduled that in. You should have received an invitation. Could you please check your email and tell me if you received the invite? We want to make sure that they're actually getting this because, again, guys, if they don't get the email, if they don't get the invite, or if it's on their calendar, it doesn't matter how much of a good job you also do in discovery. If they can't join the meeting or they can't find out how, it's all for nothing. Like, I would even say if there's one thing I want you guys to definitely stick to in this post process, like, look, I want you to do this whole thing, right? But if the prospect is in a hurry and you're just going to have to book the meeting, at least try to get them to accept the invite and click yes on their calendar. Or click yes on the invite. So then you would say, okay, can you please click yes on that so it shows up in your calendar? Just have them do it on the call. Now, I know that was quite a bit. And we spoke about asking for the meeting, doing the option close, getting their email, getting their partner if they have one, and then double tying them down and showing up. And then, of course, walking them through accepting the invitation and making sure it's on the calendar. What questions do you guys have on that specific topic?
Yeah, no questions. Just just
Damn.
reiterating that we need to follow that. Make sure we get them to accept the invitation. That's definitely something I haven't been doing enough.
Right.
Yeah, I can see how that would increase your rate just looking at it. 100%.
Yep. the only potential issue here is that somebody, maybe they might have to go.
Yeah.
But then we can talk about, if that, again, I don't want to talk about problems that haven't come up. If we do start seeing recurring patterns, then we'll figure out a way of getting around it. But for now, just make sure that if there's at least one thing that you do in this post-booking process, it's that you make sure they get to accept the invite. Probably the most important thing, this one.
Sorry, and with the like average time of the call, like what is it now, and what do you think it will likely be?
So right now, I think listening to one of your calls, it was about 5 minutes long on average. I think with this whole process, it might go up to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, depending on how in depth of a discovery you guys do. But again, like 5 minutes to a cold call, it's not a huge shift. Again, the key word here is as long as you're having a genuinely valuable conversation. Because the problem that people get into when it comes to discovery is they start asking redundant questions. Like, oh, how many years have you been in business? Do you like being a realtor? How many family members do you have? Do you want to make more money? It's like, these are redundant questions that are just going to lose you the set. So when it comes to these, like, as long as you're asking genuinely good questions and you guys are sounding human, an extra 5 minutes is going to be a make or break. Cool. So to continue off of that, so we left off in the part where we kind of get them to confirm their email, or we get them to confirm the invitation on the email. Next thing that we want to do is talk to them a little bit more about who they're going to be meeting with. So the thing about Go High Level is once you actually book the meeting, you guys will be able to see if it was booked with Anthony or Ismail, which are both of our closers. So you would say, perfect, John. So you'll be speaking with Anthony, who has directly helped many of our brokers produce multi-8 figures in sales volume. I mean, for instance, one of our brokers literally got 20 listings in 3 months. So Anthony is going to show you how, if you want, on that call, and I'll let him know what we talked about so you guys can get straight to business. So what we're doing here is we are humanizing the closer. We are making it seem, because they're going to feel so much more bad about no showing to somebody who sounds like an expert and who sounds like a real human. And for me, like, I had a personal experience about this. A few months ago, I had a surgery. And when I was talking to the nurse told me, you're going to be speaking with Dr. Sergio, whatever. He's like our head surgeon. He's like really good, blah, 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 blah. So for me, when I thought about meeting, like, I was actually looking towards a meeting because I knew that I was speaking to somebody who was qualified. I knew that I was getting like a really good doctor as opposed to like some random, like, uni, intern. And so you want to make the conversation with the closer feel the same way. You want to hype up the closer and make them genuinely, make it seem like them speaking to Anthony or to Ismail is genuinely a privilege. And then again, like, you're making it known that they're speaking to a human so that they're more likely to show up. Because then they'll feel, because when they think about canceling, they'll be like, oh shit, Anthony, I'm gonna have to miss out on him. It's like more resistance pretty much to no showing. Make sense, guys?
Yeah, I like that. We used to do that with the last offer I was on, actually, but he was quite famous, so everyone wanted to see him.
Right. So we don't want to overdo it either. We don't want to be like, oh, like, Anthony, this guy's like the best in the world. We're just going to drop like a very sample, like a very casual case study. Because by the way, the 20 listings in 3 months is true, according to what Thomas told me. So dropping this as an example, be like, hey, 20 listings in 3 months, and he can show you how he did that if you want on the call. And by the way, I'll let him know what we talked about so you guys can get straight to business. That way, in the prospect's mind, they're not going to have like they're not going to have to redo this entire thing. You just get straight to business, and that's it. Now, again, lastly, and I promise, John, lastly, and I promise one last thing before I let you go. Anthony will be sending you a few texts from a insert area code. So another update, guys. We're going to have a new automated reminder system using a new software that claims to double or even triple response rates. And so in that software, we're going to get a number with a certain area code. I don't know what the area code is going to be just yet, but it's probably going to be like it could be a Florida number, it could be a California number, whatever. So when we have that number, you guys will want to say something like, hey, so Anthony will be sending you a few texts from a 954 number to confirm that you're able to make that time just in case anything arises. So please be on the lookout for those messages. And if you don't mind, I'll also call you a few hours before our meeting to make sure nothing crazy came up. Cool. And again, in this case, what we're doing here is that we're making it known that they'll have to respond to the confirmation messages so that we know if they're going to show up. And more importantly, we're getting permission to confirm them. Because the last thing that we want to do is to get off the call with somebody and they're the kind of person that shows up to meetings, but then they don't reply because they're busy. And then we end up bombarding them with calls thinking that they're not going to show, and then they get pissed. So this makes it known that we're going to reach out. And if they have any sort of objections to that, they'll tell you. They tell you, Mia, please don't call me. I'm very busy. I will show up. Just put me in the calendar and I'll be there. If they do that, that's great. Like nothing else to do. And some people might be like, yeah, sure, I appreciate it if you would call me. Actually, that would be great. So we're just trying to get that permission from them so that when we follow up and then we try to confirm them, it doesn't seem so aggressive and so salesy or pushy because they've already given us permission. They've agreed to it before. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the script. And you say, all right, John, well, great talking to you. I'm excited for your meeting with Anthony. Have a good day. Bye-bye. That's the entire script in a nutshell. What do you guys have for me?
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I think it's just going to be a thing about learning it inside out, just being able to sort of adapt to it. But yeah, I'm definitely ready to give it a try.